Breaking news. The investigation into the illegal runoff was officially launched by Ali, a local resident living near the laundry facility, filed the initial report with environmental authorities. Noticing a persistent full odor and unusual discolored discharge flowing from the laundry premise toward the riverbank, Ali alerted the department to the potential hazard. His eyewitness account served as the primary catalyst for the probe, prompting the officer to conduct an immediate site inspection to trace the source of suspected sewage. My name is SUFI. Our group will present about improper disposal of sewage through runoff to water body, which is focusing on improper wastewater disposal of laundry. First of all, what is sewage? Sewage, known as a wastewater, refers to the water that has been used in household, industry and business, and they are all discharged through the pipe into the drain system. It consists of the combination of human waste, food scrap, cleaning chemicals and industrial byproduct. Sewage can be classified into three main types, which are domestic sewage, industrial sewage and stormwater sewage. Next, runoff water is the water on the ground surface flowing away from the point of the discharge. This definition includes any depression on the ground when runoff accumulates, such as ditches, small area of flowing water from spring or swamp, small stream, rivers, irrigation system, and so on. Meanwhile, improper disposal is incorrect, unsafe, and illegal handling of waste material such as dumping trash in unauthorized area, flushing medication, or mixing recyclable with general waste. This behavior causes severe environmental pollution like air, water, soil that poses significant health risks, including disease transmission and toxic exposure. Now, I will explain how improper wastewater disposal from laundry happened. There was an industrial washout named Lux Laundry that operates a commercial laundry facility located in aging industrial park. It started when the management of Lux Laundry prioritized short-term profit margin over public safety to avoid rising municipal civil surcharge. They installed an illegal diversion valve to intentionally bypass environmental regulation and municipal oversight. This moved their massive output of boiling, chemical-laden wastewater away from the treatment plants and directly into the local storm drain system, which it used to be designed exclusively for clean rainwater. Other than that, the torrent effect occurred where it transformed the drainage system into high-speed delivery pipe for boiling chemical-laden toxin. This absolutely will affect the environmental result because directed the hazardous influent into Bhakti River in Kelantan, thus it triggering an immediate and catastrophic ecological collapse. Let's move on to timeline chronology. The collapse of Bhakti River began the moment when the illegal bypass valve was opened, descending a torrent of boiling with high pH wastewater into the fragile ecosystem, especially into Bhakti River. Within the first 3 days, the creek suffered immediate thermal shock as temperature reached 70 to 90 degrees Celsius, which is causing the fish to suffocate as oxygen level decreased. By the end of the first week, the high alkali at pH 11 above of the industrial detergent began to literally dissolve the shells of snail and strip the protective mucus from fish, this leading to a visible yellowing and death of all bankside vegetation. As the violation continued into the second week, the discharge created a permanent dead zone where toxic dioxin settled into sediment and a path of death became visible from the storm pipe that characterized by grey, slimy water and a total absence of insect life. This was followed by a massive eutrophication spike a month later because the heavy loads of phosphate triggered explosive algae blooms that choked the waterway for miles downstream. As the algae die and rot, the remaining oxygen is sucked out of the water, extending the dead zone miles beyond the initial site. Then, the disaster was only halted after 3 months of sustained damage, when the environmental investigator followed by forensic trace of steam pumps and UV reactive optical brighteners back to the Lux Laundry facility to finally exposing the intentional negligence behind the ecological decay.
Hi, my name is SYAMMILA. Now let's look at why this happens. First, to save money. It costs a lot of money to pay the city to clean dirty water. So, for businesses, this becomes a big expense in their daily operation. Because of that, some of them choose to dump the waste for free instead of treating it properly. By doing this, they can reduce their costs and make more profit. Next, lack of rules and checks. Government inspectors do not often visit the business, so there is less monitoring. When there are fewer inspections, businesses may feel more confident to break the rules. Even if the business get caught, the fines are often very low, so they may think it is still worth taking the risk. Another reason is all city pipes. Sometimes the city sewage system is too small to handle that much water. This usually happens in older areas where the system was not designed for large amounts of wastewater. Because of this, it can lead to overflow or push businesses to find other ways to dispose of the waste. Lastly, hidden pollution. The river carries the dirty water away quickly, so it's easy to pretend the problem is gone. People do not directly see the pollution happening in front of them. Because of that, people tend to care less about things that belong to everyone, like a public river.
My name is SYUHADA. Now I will explain the impacts of improper wastewater disposal from the laundry activities. This impact can be divided into environmental damage and risk to human health. First, let's look at the environmental and ecosystem damage. One major issue is eutrophication. Laundry wastewater contains high level of phosphates which act like fertilizers. This causes a rapid alga growth or alga blooms that block the sunlight from reaching underwater plants. Next is the oxygen sage effect. When algae and salt residue decompose, bacteria use up dissolved oxygen in the water. As a result, fish and other aquatic organisms can suffocate and die. Another impact is thermal shock. Wastewater from commercial laundry is often discharged at high temperatures, sometimes around 60 degrees Celsius. This sudden temperature change can kill temperature-sensitive aquatic species instantly. Lastly, pH chemical burns occur. Strong industrial cleaning chemicals can increase the water's pH to very high levels, damaging fish gills and protective layers, making the survival difficult. Besides environmental damage, this issue also affects the human health. One concern is endocrine disruptors. Some detergents contain chemicals like nonylphenol ectosalates, which can interfere with hormones and potentially enter the human food chain. There is also bioaccumulation. Toxic substances build up in the fish tissues over time. When people consume this fish, the toxins can enter their bodies. Lastly, pathogens exposure is a serious risk. If the laundry handles contaminated materials like hospital linens, untreated wastewater can carry harmful bacteria into rivers used for recreation. Now, let's move on to the socio-economic impacts and long-term effects. First is fishery collapse. Pollution can create dead zones where fish cannot survive, affecting the livelihood of local fishermen. Next, tourism decline. Polluted rivers often have foul, bad odors, and dirty water, making them unsuitable for activities like swimming or kayaking. Lastly, there are higher utility costs. Water treatment become more expensive because additional filtration and purifications are required to make the water safe for use. Improper disposal also leaves long-term traces in the environment. One example is microfiber pollutions. Synthetic fibers from clothes are released during washing and accumulate in riverbeds because they do not biodegrade. Another is riparian die-off. Chemicals can seep into riverbank soil, killing plants and increasing erosion. Finally, chemical signature act like a forensic fingerprint. Specific dyes and compounds found in the water can help trace the pollution back to its source.
Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. My name is NATALISYA baby HAMZAH. So for my part, I will be explaining about the type of investigation, study area and also the purpose of this case study. So this investigation is actually conducted as a case study, which means we are focusing on a specific real life situation to understand how pollution occurs and how it's actually affected the surrounding environment. So this study area located at Sungai Bakti, Kelantan, near laundry facility known as Lux Laundry. Based on this scenario, this laundry is actually suspected releasing the wastewater into the river through an illegal bypass system, which may contribute to pollution in the water body. The purpose of investigation consists of three main objectives. For the first one, to identify the level of pollution in Sungai Bakti by analysing water samples from different locations or areas. The second one is to determine the source of contamination, whether pollution is directly from the laundry discharge or from other possible source. So for the third one, to assess the impact of this pollution on both environment and also human health, especially aquatic life such as fish, and for residents living nearby who may rely to this river. Moving on to the next part, which is a sampling plan. So I will explain the sampling design that used in the study, which is very important to trace how pollution spreads along the river. Looking at the map, at S1, water samples are collected from the upstream side, which is this location serves as a control point because it represents the natural condition of the river before any contamination occurs. At S2, samples are taken at the point of discharge, where wastewater from the laundry enters the river. This is a critical point because it helps us directly assess the potential pollution source. So at S3, samples are collected at the mixed downstream side, where the wastewater from the laundry enters the river. It's actually already mixed with the river water lah. So this will help us observe how the pollution begins to spread. At S4, samples are taken further downstream to monitor changes in pollution levels as the water flows away from the source. At S5, sampling continues even further downstream until water quality results become similar to the S1, because this will help to determine pollution, how far the impact of the pollution extends along the river. Last but not least, at S6, we collect and photograph the physical evidence such as a dead fish or a damaged plants. This step is very important to support our findings by showing the actual environmental impact caused by the pollution.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is HUSNINA SYAHZANANI BINTI AFINDI, and I'm going to present about site observation. Based on our site observation, several environmental issues were identified. Firstly, the water appeared dark and murky, which indicate possible contamination. There were also a strong unpleasant chemical odor detected in the surrounding area. Secondly, the river is located near to a laundry businesses, Lux Laundry, and residential areas, which increases the risk of pollution due to improper waste disposal. In addition, the area is close to the residential areas and school, which exposes the public, especially students, to the risks of health. Furthermore, there were also a sign of environmental impact, such as reports of toxic gas exposure. Overall, the site observation clearly shows that the river environment is unsafe and requires immediate action to control pollution. I'm going to explain about the water sampling method. Which sampling method did we use to detect the pollution? First method is grab sampling. Grab sampling method is used to collect water from the specific points such as discharge outlet and nearby river area to detect immediate pollution from the laundry effluent. Moreover, upstream, downstream Sampling. Sampling is conducted at the upstream, which is before pollution, discharge point, the main contamination area, and downstream after pollution. This method is used to compare the water quality and assess the impact of sewage runoff on the river. That's all from me. Thank you.
A very good day to everyone. My name is FIRZaNAH and I'll be explaining on the procedure and timeline for this investigation. The first step is the site assessment. We will find any illegal discharge pipe from the laundry facility. We also check the river conditions such as foam, color, smell, and temperature. At the same time, we record any environmental damage like dead fish and plants. Next, the second step is sampling. We take water samples from upstream at the discharge point and downstream. We measure temperature and pH on site and collect physical evidence like foam, sludge, and lint. Then, step 3 is the laboratory testing. We carry out chemical analysis such as pH, COD, and BOD. We also test for heavy metals like lead and zinc and check for microplastics. After that, the step 4 is data recording. We record GPS location, time, and weather conditions. We also take photos of the discharge point and affected areas and maintain proper chain of custody. Finally, in step 5, we do data analysis and reporting. We compare upstream and downstream results, identify the pollution source, and prepare a forensic report. Okay, moving on to the second slide. Now I'll be explaining the sampling frequency and also the safety considerations. During the investigation, sampling is done every 4 to 6 hours within 24 hours. This helps us capture peak discharge times, especially during morning and night operations. Since the laundry operates continuously, the pollution is constant, not intermittent. For follow-up monitoring, we also do the sampling weekly for the first month and also monthly for the long-term monitoring. Next, as for the safety measures, for personal safety, we wear PPE such as gloves, goggles, and respirators. We also avoid contact with hot water discharge and be careful of the high pH chemicals. For environmental safety, we monitor the toxic gases and handle industrial detergents carefully. For emergency preparedness, we prepare for immediate evacuation if needed and ensure first aid is available. Lastly, for the ethical responsibilities, we protect the confidentiality of the business investigation and the local community. We report findings accurately without manipulation. We also follow environmental laws and obtain proper sampling permission. In conclusion, these steps ensure the investigation is safe, accurate, and reliable. Thank you.
My name is QIAN and I will be presenting the chemical analysis of water quality based on our scenario of improper disposal of laundry wastewater from Lux Laundry into Sungai Bakti, Kelantan. Firstly, pH measurement is used to determine the acidity or alkalinity of the water. This is carried out using a pH meter where the probe is first calibrated and then immersed into the water sample to obtain a reading. Under normal conditions, natural river water typically has a pH range between 6.5 and 8.5. However, in this scenario, the wastewater from Lux Laundry contains detergents which are usually alkaline in nature. When this wastewater flows into the river through runoff, it can increase the pH level of the water, making it more alkaline than normal. An abnormal pH value indicates a chemical imbalance in the water, which is caused by chemical contamination from the detergent discharge. This imbalance can negatively affect aquatic organisms, as many species can only survive within a narrow pH range, and it may also disrupt the overall ecosystem of the river. Next is chemical oxygen demand, or COD, which is used to measure the total amount of oxidizable chemical pollutants that present in the water. To determine the COD value, the water sample is mixed with chemical reagents and heated in a COD reactor. This process helps to break down the chemical pollutants in the sample. The absorbance is then measured using a spectrophotometer to calculate the COD level. A high COD value indicates a high level of chemical pollution in the water. In our scenario, the laundry wastewater contains detergents, surfactants, and other chemical residues. This contributes to an increase in COD levels when discharged into the river. Therefore, high COD values in Sungai Bakti would indicate that the water is polluted due to the improper disposal of laundry wastewater from Lux Laundry. This reflects poor water quality and poses potential risk to aquatic life and the surrounding environment.
Next, I will be presenting the biological analysis of river pollution based on a laundry wastewater scenario involving Lux Laundry discharging into Sungai Bakti. First, we look at microbial contamination. This analysis focuses on detecting bacteria such as E. coli, which is commonly used as an indicator of water pollution and hygiene level. When high levels of E. coli are found, it indicates that the water is contaminated, possibly from dirty or infected laundry. This is important because it suggests potential health risks, including waterborne diseases. In this case, higher bacterial counts are expected at the discharge area, where wastewater enters the river. The water may also show signs such as unpleasant odor and poor quality. To carry out this analysis, water samples are collected using sterile bottles and incubated for 24 to 48 hours. After that, gas formation and turbidity are observed, and the bacterial count is estimated using the MPN method. Next, we move to biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD. BOD measures the amount of oxygen used by microorganisms to break down organic matter in the water, such as detergent residues, dirt, and fabric particles from laundry wastewater. It is an important indicator of the level of organic pollution in the river. When wastewater is discharged into the river, it increases the amount of organic substances present. Microorganisms will then become more active and use more dissolved oxygen to decompose this waste. As a result, the oxygen level in the water decreases. In this case, higher BOD values are expected at the discharge point compared to upstream, because more organic waste is being released into the river. The water may also appear cloudy with reduced aquatic activity. To measure BOD, water samples are collected and the initial dissolved oxygen is recorded. The sample is then incubated for 5 days, after which the final oxygen level is measured to calculate the oxygen consumed.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all of you. So now I'm going to talk about the test results, which are the further step after collecting the sample and after the analysis. So we had done 3 analyses, which are chemical analysis that had been discussed and explained by each one, and we had biological analysis that also had been discussed by Chan Lang, and the last one, physical analysis. So for the chemical analysis, we had done the pH value, the chemical oxygen demand, the dissolved oxygen, the nitrate, the total phosphate, and that's all. For the biological part, we had done the biochemical oxygen demand, BOD, and the facial coliform CFU. For the physical analysis, we use the temperature change, the turbidity or total suspended solid TTS, and also the TDS, total dissolved solid. So we have done talk about the all analysis. So let us go through the test results, the data, and the mapping. You need to compare it. So for the S1, we know that we take the sample on the upstream, which is the source of the water. Okay. And for the S2, they are the part that show the source of the pollution. And for the S5, that are the downstream. For the S2, S3, S4, and S6, they show that the pollution had been spread on that same circumstance. So let us go through the S1. So we can look first on the pH value. We can see that the S1 and S5 is the most natural value, 0.2 and 7, which indicate the water quality, the clean water quality for both of them. Same goes to the others analysis. They show that the S1, SN and S5, the clean and the most high water quality in this membrane. So we have go through all the analysis. Let us further do talking about the water quality index. For WQI water quality index, the higher value of it indicates the most cleanness of the water. So like we can see now, S1 and S5 have quite high number, 92 and 78, which indicate that those circumstances show the cleanliness of the water in this river. It contrasts with the S2, S3, S4 and S6. It indicates that the circumstance on the river highly polluted or polluted. That's all. If you have questions, you may ask. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Fathi AKMAL bin Muhammad Fazli. Today, I'm gonna talk about the conclusion. To conclude that, investigation confirmed that improper wastewater disposal from the laundry industry cause river pollution. Evidence show that high alkaline water, high BOD and COD, which is chemical and organic pollution, and presence of E. coli, result serious damage to aquatic life, ecosystem and water quality. Next, seriousness of the issue. This issue is very serious and dangerous because cause fish death and ecosystem collapse and affect the local economy, which is fishing and tourism. If not controlled, pollution can become long term and also irreversible.
I just had to let you know you're she has been through shit.